Hey, what's going on YouTube? E3J Villa here, bringing a video. This is going to just be a quick video. This is my wife's new 2026 Subaru Outback Limited XT, which is the turbo model. It's the new remodeled year. I currently have a 2025 Outback Wilderness, which has the turbo motor as well. And I went online just to see if there was any quick how to change oil videos, and of course there wasn't any for the new remodeled version of the Subaru Outback, which is pretty much the same process as the Wilderness XT from the previous years or turbo models themselves. Just a small couple changes. So the first thing that has changed is they did change the oil filter part number. It is a different oil filter than the previous model. So the oil filter that comes on these factory is 15208AA170 from Subaru. This is the first oil change on this vehicle. We just hit about the 5,000 mile mark, so we're getting ready to change the oil right now. And as you see, we do have said oil filter. So it is the 15208AA170. It matches. Make sure you grab the crush washer. It's not much money, and you should replace it every single time because it is supposed to be like a once-use type situation. The next thing you're going to need, obviously, is oil. It takes 4.8 quarts of oil. It is a 0W20. Valvoline, Mobil 1, anything that's a higher brand oil is always recommended. You are going to need a 17 millimeter socket, and then you also are going to need a torque wrench. It is 30 to 31 foot-pounds of torque that you're going to need to properly torque the oil drain bolt back onto the oil drain pan. So, and I'll show you more here in a second. Just like it is on the older generation, especially my 2025 Subaru Outback Wilderness, they did not block the oil drain bolt with any type of skid plating. So if you actually follow the skid plates back, you will see that right there is the oil drain bolt. And like I previously mentioned, it is a 17 millimeter. Before removing the oil drain bolt, I do always pull up the oil dipstick, and then I also remove the oil filler cap. The reason why I do this is that way air is able to move through the engine, which will help the oil flow out faster and more efficiently and ensure that we get all the oil out of the engine. One thing I forgot to mention whenever we're talking about tools was you are going to need a way to catch the oil whenever it comes out of the engine. So you're going to need an oil drain pan. This one is the Hyper Tough from Walmart. It's a 7 quart. You're going to want a bigger capacity than what the vehicle has. So this vehicle is just shy of 5 quarts. So having a 7 quart oil catch pan will leave you enough room because there's never going to be more than what the vehicle has inside the engine in your pan. So that gives us about 2 quarts of wiggle room. It'll allow us to slide it out and carry it to our disposal location, whether that's back into the container or another container you may have, without spilling any, because you have that 2 quart headroom in the actual pan. So just adding it in there. Obviously, it was hard to do this underneath the vehicle and while being by myself and one-handed, but I did go ahead and break loose the oil drain bolt. I did remove it. I have it right here. I didn't let it fall into the oil pan because you don't want to be fishing it out of hot oil. And we're going to let it drain. And we're going to let it drain until it actually stops coming out of the engine. And as you can see here, I'm on a little bit of an incline, so it's getting a little bit close to the edge there. But yeah, I mean, you want a good oil catch pan, and we'll come back to it. Now that the oil's actually draining down below us, now it's time that we can actually remove the oil filter. So I've had this oil filter wrench forever. If your oil filter is too tight to remove it by hand, which this one's pretty snug from factory, you're gonna need a wrench. So we're just gonna grab a wrench, and it should fit right over. And just a quick turn. Man, they got this one tight. And we're not reusing it, so we don't care if we scuff up the oil filter or anything like that. And we're going to remove it and flip it over. And we can just set it down until we can dispose of it, since I'm on the camera. All right, now that our oil is completely drained out of the engine, we're ready to reinstall the oil drain bolt. So we're gonna use the same 17 millimeter, but to thread it in, but we are going to torque it down with the torque wrench. And the torque specs is 30.8 foot-pounds of torque, so 30 or 31, both are gonna be sufficient. But we are going to put our crush washer onto the oil drain bolt before we install it. The crush washer actually is directional. So one side is flat, one side is rounded. You want to put the flat side towards the head of the bolt, where the round side is going to go to the oil drain pan. All right, the next thing you're going to need to do is you're actually going to need to lubricate the O-ring on the oil filter. So take some of your clean oil, not your dirty oil from the pan. Dip your finger in the clean oil, rub it around, lubricate the O-ring, and then you're going to actually take your clean oil that you're going to be putting into your engine, and you're just going to put a little bit of oil inside the oil filter, and then we're going to thread it back on. So I'm going to take it over. You want to make sure the area where your oil filter seats is actually clean. So if there's any dirt, grime, or any residual oil, you want to take a clean paper towel and wipe it down and make sure it's clean. You don't need to go inside, because that's actually where the filter will filter the oil back in, where it comes up and goes back in. So we're ready to put our oil filter back in. You might get a little bit of spillage since we put some oil inside the filter, but you're going to actually flip it back on. I always back thread it so you feel the threads drop. There, it dropped. And then now we know we're seated. And we're going to spin it until it gets tight. And we're just going to go about a half a turn, and that's it. That's all the tighter you need to go. Any more tight, it's too tight. So half turn past wherever it gets a little bit resistance and a little bit tight is sufficient enough. I did snug it up just a little bit more. Rereading the oil filter does say 3/4 of a turn once ever it gets seated and it starts to get the resistance. But we don't want to go past that. We do not use the oil filter wrench to tighten it. Just a little extra context there. And the last thing you need to do is you obviously need to put oil back into the engine. It's recommended that you put about 4.5 quarts in first, not the full 4.8, because there's always residual oil within your engine. So I usually go for 4.25-ish quarts into the engine. I cycle the engine, and then I'll pull the dipstick out and I'll check. And when you pull the dipstick out, you want it to be between the two dots. So it can be anywhere within that range, just above the first one, but not over the second one. And I'm not going to show that process. I mean, you put the oil in, 4.25, 4.5 quarts first, check it. If you need to go a little bit more, add until you're in between there. And I usually just shoot for the middle. But that's it. Pretty simple, just like the old Outbacks. Same process. I guess if you have any questions, you can put it down in the comments. This is not I'm not a Subaru technician. This isn't, 100% the way Subaru probably does it. This is the way I do it. So do it at your own discretion and your own, I'm not responsible for anything you do to your car, but it is straightforward. It's as simple as any other vehicles. 17 millimeter on the drain bolt. You need the oil filter that I referenced earlier. You need at least 4.8 quarts of 0W20 oil that's fully synthetic, and that's it. And then of course properly dispose your oil. Don't just leave it on the side of the road or throw it in your trash can. So all right, cool, thank you guys, see you, bye.